Hi, happy 2026, everyone. This is the Sistah Sci-Fi Wind Down Wednesday of the year. If you're on our email list, you will know that we are discussing Afrofuturism short stories. Edited, I got to pick the stories from the broader submissions, and then Nisi Shaw worked with the more established authors, which include Tiana Reed, Maurice Broadus, Stephen Burns, Linda Addison, and many more. Today we'll be in conversation with Alan Teaser and Tiffany M. Davis, discussing their stories Kemi's Omelet and Nikki's Rockin' Rollers and Curls, and I am super excited. I have my questions, I have a question list, I am ready. Be so amazing. It's going to be so seamless. So Alan, Tiffany, I just sent you an invite. Yay! Okay. Wow, look at that. It was just so nice. I know I sent y'all the questions literally 10 minutes ago. But before we dive into that, how are y'all? How are y'all feeling? How you doing? How's senior treating?
Doing good.
Yeah, doing well. Excited to share about these stories.
Yay! No, I'm so excited you said yes. I'm turning up the volume. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
How's your 2026 started?
Could have been better, but anything is better than 2025. So.
And there's that. Alan, how about you?
I randomly got cast on a reality TV show, and it was filmed last summer, and the episodes were released on January 1st.
What is this reality TV show? How do you watch? I'm so fascinated. I'm so intrigued.
So it's on Hallmark, so you can watch it on Hallmark Plus. And the title is Second Chance Love. And the code.
Oh, it's like a dating show. Wait.
Well, it's like someone from your past who you may have had something with. They invite you out. You know, they flew us to Italy, and they send you on all these dates, and they say, you know, like, let's see what happens. So it was a friend of mine from seventh grade, and we lost contact, and we, you know, connected again as adults, and have been friends for like 30 years. So we went out together, you know, so.
Well, I'm so fascinated on so many levels. One, I did not know that we were on Hallmark. So that's, I'm processing that. Second Chance Love. And I've watched every dating show humanly possible. So, but we're here to talk about Afrofuturism, Second Chance Love. I'll eventually drop the link in the chat. So fascinating. Okay. Hey Amber, how are you? Okay. So I'm also pulling up today's question. So that's I generally want to know how y'all are doing. I'm fascinated by everybody's start of the year. I also want to drop in, if you're wondering, wow, how do I get my hands on this beautiful edition of Afrofuturism short stories? I'm dropping the link in the chat, so please hold, and then we'll kick off the questions. As I do that, I just, in case y'all didn't see my question list, I would love, like, every time in the conversation for y'all to read an excerpt. So I'm saying that now. So when I stop and say, well, y'all read an excerpt, y'all are not like, and my copy of the book is on the other side of the room and all that kind of stuff. So now you've given a heads up. Also, as you watch this in cyberspace, please drop your questions in the chat. I can see the questions on my laptop right here, so I can bring that into the conversation. And if you love this, what we're discussing, you can click this little white arrow right here. You can follow Sistah Sci-Fi if you don't already. You can follow Arrow, and you can follow Tiffany. Sound good? Huzzah! Let's get into it. All right. So let's talk about Afrofuturism itself. The National Museum of African American History and Culture, they had a great Afrofuturism exhibit a couple years ago, and they define it as envisioning Black identity, agency, and liberated futures. How does that definition resonate with your story that's included in this beautiful anthology? Um, and where do you see your work fitting into the broader Afrofuturist tradition?
I can start maybe. So yeah, I love that focus. I'm a psychologist, and I run a group called Black Wellness, and the tagline is Black Wellness is the antithesis of state violence. So if we dismantle, um, if we want Black people to be well, we have to dismantle everything that makes them unwell. And I think the story started in trying to imagine a future where Black people are well. You know, what needs to happen, you know, based on everything that's happening now in order for Black people to be well. What does that look like? You know, what's the lived experience of that, you know, in an unrestricted kind of environment, and what would need to happen in order for us to get that environment. So I started imagining kind of this future, and then the story came from that. Um, and It's been great. It's been kind of therapeutic a little bit, you know, trying to think everything that frightens me about what's going on right now, trying to imagine, you know, a logical end to that where, you know, we can still be well and be whole. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like near futurism. It's set in 10 years from now, and it's set 110 years from now. You know, so what are the seeds, you know, that happen 10 years from now that put us on that path, and who are those seeds? And then what does that look like after, you know, 100 years of growth?
Yeah, I could definitely see that in Kemi's omelet. Um, Tiffany, what about you?
Well, my story is set in a beauty salon in the future, and there's nothing more quintessentially central to Black culture than the beauty shop and the barber shop. So, and I think I was getting my hair cut when the seed of the story came in my head. And also, my both of my characters, the main characters, both left Earth to go somewhere else to for a so, and that's also the story of diaspora. You know, we're migrating. Well, some of us not by choice, but for the most part, you know, in later generations, we are moving somewhere to try and have a better life for ourselves. So that's where my work fits within the broader Afrofuturist
Yeah,
tradition.
it's like that intergalactic migration and in
Yeah,
search of better opportunities. And, and I
because it's
appreciate
coming.
it. Yeah, yeah. Um, so, and some of the questions, a lot of the questions will be for both of y'all. Some of the questions will be for each of y'all. So, Alan, this next question is for you. So, in Kemi and the Sacred Omelet has a very unusual structure, particularly for the short story. So, it starts with an invocation. There are eight subtitled subsections. What inspired that structure, particularly for a short story?
Well, first, let me just say shout out to you, Tiffany, for that setting, using a barbershop or a salon in the future. They say there will be Black people in the future, and when I was reading your thing, I was like, if there are Black people in the future, there are going to be hair salons in the future. So I really, really appreciated that. But so yeah, so I got interested in oral tradition, and the structure of that. In the Black Wellness group, we read the Epic of Sundiata, this Malian epic. It's like 600 years old or something like that. It's one of the oldest oral traditions in Africa. And I really like that structure in oral tradition. You know, it's kind of consensual. You know, if the audience doesn't like what you're saying, then they can walk away. You know, so you have to, you know, it has to be good, it has to be compelling, it has to be clear. And then I also have a background in cognitive neuroscience, so I know our entire attentional perceptual system is you know, structured around processing information that way, you know, in stories and oral tradition. So it's really a powerful vehicle. And in Yoruba and West African, Afro-Indigenous tradition, they have pataki, which are, these short stories that tell, the stories of the Orisha and like, fables kind of. So I really like that structure. I like that way of digesting information. And I kind of got excited about, creating a story structure like that, where you can tell kind of multiple mini stories within one story, and it's maybe a bit easier to digest than a longer narrative. But or maybe that's just me and my ADHD.
And I liked it, and I like that homage to like there was what's digestible for you, and also it's an homage to um, ancestral texts, right? That may be so reintroducing the reader to that body of knowledge and that writing and that oral tradition is also huge.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah,
the spiritual piece too, in one of the stories, that there's like this understanding that there has to be some form of spirituality to kind of like guide people or give people some way of being in relationship with themselves in the natural world. So that invocation was an attempt to not just kind of talk about that, but like let that be real. In the Black Wellness Group, we do an introduction by Leah Penniman as a form of ritual. So also trying to find ways of incorporating ritual practices into things.
I love it. So two things. I tried to find it to drop the link in the chat, but I couldn't. Like I said, if you want to drop the link to the chat to the Black Wellness Group, any upcoming events, that would be great. And then as you were talking about the Reaches, the San Francisco Public Library is hosting Divine Forces, celebrating the power of the Orishas, which is this Sunday. So I'm dropping that link in the chat. Okay, so Tiffany's like, where are we going with this? Um, I have a question for you. So the first line in Nikki's rocking, rocket curls and cuts starts with, I told him he better flip zero switch on his moon boots and get to stepping. And what I like about that line, it felt very historic and futuristic at the same time. Like it felt like it could have been, and I say this as an homage to a culture of Black creativity in cinema. Like it could have been a line from a Black exploitation film, or it could be a line from like 200 years in the future. Do you purposely seek to follow the tradition of Sankofa in your work?
Nope. And I didn't know that until I saw that. I was like, girl, what? But yeah, but no. And that line, like, get to step in. If anyone remembers the '90s sitcom Martin, that was one of his
Mm.
phrases. Get to step in. And I'm also Gen X, so we are the generation that straddle. We were before email, before Google, before the internet, and then we're also here with the advent of various technological advances such as AI. So we are in a way the Sankofa generation. We look in the past and see the future. So it's because consciously. Because sometimes I feel like an analog girl in a digital world. So
I love it. I love it. We got Martin quotes. We got Erica Badu quotes. I'm here for it. Yes, yes, I love it. Um, I love, and it's weird that I was like, oh, it feels so like Black exploitation, and it's '90s Martin, and I just like really placed it in the wrong time. But yes, okay, my brain knew that it felt familiar somehow. So thank you for that. So for both of y'all, your stories engage personal identity through a fantastical lens. Um, and what I'd love for both of y'all to like expound upon is how do you use these speculative elements, magic, technology, futurism, to explore very real questions about selfhood and belonging.
Well, I know I want to give a shout out to Segura Tay in Oakland, because some of the, you know, impetus for even, doing this work was some of the work that they've done. And I think Karina Gould, she talked about how, like, sometimes you have to show people something. You can't explain it to them. You have to create the thing. So Kemi, the character Kemi, and in 2135 was very much intentional, like all the tensions that, she's struggling with. These are all the things that we're kind of struggling with right now, and all the, uh, um, things that are seductive for her. So her story is very much about learning some of the lessons that we actually need to learn right now, about our, technology use and relationship with the environment. So it's cool because she's like in the future, but she's interested in past technology, but that technology is like our near future technology. So, and there's all this weird stuff with the rogue AI and neural, neural interfaces and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's been fun kind of playing with that and using that to kind of tell her story.
Mm. Mm.
For me, technology, because it is both a blessing and a curse, and the more technologically advanced we become as a society, it seems like the more we are being pushed apart from each other. Hear the whole jokes like, I was outside, y'all were not, and things like that. There's even a song by Tamia from her Hot Like Fire album, and it's called When the Sun Goes Down, and there's a lyric that goes, we're not posting anything, we live it. So that is I like to incorporate that more technology than anything, and how that feeds into you find your tribe online, and sometimes that's good because you can't find the other way, and you stay isolated just trying to be with that tribe online or via
Mm.
whatever technology. So, you know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, depending on, how you feel. For some people, it's very real. That's the only type of connection they can have for various reasons, and that's okay. But for others, it's a conscious choice, and sometimes that does have an effect. And Alan, as a psychologist, sometimes it can take a toll on mental health as well. So that is one of the things I like to explore, because you're always trying to find your tribe, especially as you grow older and grow out of some of the tribes you may have belonged to before. So technology makes it easier to at least try and find somebody or something.
Yeah. And I'll pause there because it sounded like you were kicking something back to Alan, and like the psychological effect of like that digital experience versus that in real life experience, and like managing that sense of both connection and isolation. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That kind of shows up in my story too, with the rogue AI. It essentially is kind of designed to be a better friend to people than other people. And in the story, there's kind of like, people spend so much time with these artificial friends, and it's like Tower of Babel. They create this twin language that only the AI understands, and then it's hard to relate to other people because other people aren't as generous and gracious, and that people are more complicated, so you lose those conflict resolution skills. And people, by connecting with artificial personalities, they wind up becoming more isolated. So yeah, that's definitely something important, and I think should be addressed. And I saw a comment in the comments talking about kind of the fear of kind of recreating the past and the future, and that's another thing I think is important for the Kemi story, is really like, if we want a future where we're free of all these things, what needs to happen? How do we create, a new future? What are the things from the past that we need to unlearn? What are the lessons that we need to learn, and how do we need to transform, ourselves and society, as a result of these things?
Yes, Regina in my story does that, specifically. Rosaris, she and Nikki are both earth transplants. They left because they felt, well, Nikki left because she felt there was nothing left for her because her family had died on earth. So she decided to just make a clean break and go somewhere else. Regina was running because I'm looking at the comment about recreating parts of our past in spite of our best efforts. And Regina had a failed business that was due to it was her fault. It was her own mismanagement. And so she's trying to start over somewhere else. So again, both of them were seeking a tribe in different the the future equivalent of the Chamber of Commerce and things like that. And Regina was trying to find her spot, not just as an entrepreneur, but also she did Reiki, which is very new agey. And, some people are like, what the French is Reiki. And, even Nikki was like, okay, that's very woo woo. Why are you bringing this to a beauty salon? Go to the crystal shop up the street. We don't do that. So, so it's very, just trying to find her way and her tribe as well.
And I
Belonging.
have so many follow-up questions about Nikki and Pinky and Regina. But before we go into that, so in the authentic stories, yes, Reiki explanation, no, not exclamation point, star. So a lot of people might be wondering, oh, this is a cool anthology. How did it happen? How did you end up finding about like the submission process? What made you decide to submit and decide to submit the story that you submitted?
Did I see it on Sister? I stumbled across it somewhere. It was it on Sistah Scifi? One of the writing opportunities in the newsletter. I can't remember, but I was like, why not? I was taking a short story class because that was the one. I'm a novelist. I've self-published 4 novels and to master the short story. So I was taking a workshop that I had tried to get into before and was glad I got in. And so those structures were fresh in my mind on her story. And so I just winged it. Like I said, getting my haircut, thought of the idea and was like, oh, let's see how this goes. And submitted it. And when I got the email, the acceptance, I was like, it's happening. Plus, I'm not speculative fiction isn't my strong suit either. So again, it was a twofer. So it was my first short story, and it was in a genre that I normally don't write in. So I was like, hey.
That's so fascinating because I just assumed that you wrote primarily speculative fiction because a lot of your clients appear to be speculative fiction authors.
Yes, so I just kind of try not to fangirl, but yeah, I read them, love to read it, but I never quite write something that was, especially in the short story genre, that decent that I would want someone else to read. So the workshop helped me a lot.
Okay. Yay. Alan, what about you?
I'm pretty sure I saw it through Sistah Scifi, something or other, either the email list or social media. And I was kind of like working on this like short story Pataki like format. So I have like a bunch of them, but I hadn't like organized them or thought about, how I would, put them together. I was actually thinking about breaking them apart and making more of a narrative. But then when I saw that, I was like, oh, maybe I can just like put these together as a collection, and yeah, put it together. I wrote, you needed a beginning and an end kind of. And yeah, I was totally shocked that it was accepted. So that was really amazing, and that part was amazing just by itself. But the book, is just gorgeous. In my unbiased opinion, it might be like the most beautiful book I own. So it was a really amazing experience. It's the first time I've kind of ventured into writing like this and into writing in this genre, and it's been great to be published with people like Tiffany.
Yeah. And I feel like I have to say this. It wasn't like They were part of the Sistah Sci-Fi community, and then they submitted, and there was any type of nepotism. It wasn't. There were lots of people in the selection process. It just happened that, like, they were selected, and I was like, oh, they're in community, and then they ended up on one. I don't know why, like, just to know, like, they were great stories. It was an honor to, like, publish them. There are lots of roles in the decision-making process. There was no nepotism involved, which also are not related to nepotism isn't quite the right word, but you know what I mean. So, Tiffany, this question is for you. So, Nikki Rockin' Rockets Curls and Cuts is not only about Nikki, which you'd expect it to be, but also about a struggling entrepreneur, Regina, who you talked about. And so, when I read it as an entrepreneur, it definitely resonated with me. And it definitely resonated when, like, she learned, like, the reason why her previous business failed wasn't like it was good to see her take accountability, and like why I felt is that she didn't ask for help, which is such a huge lesson for Black women. How much of Regina's story, of your story, is tied to Regina's tale?
Okay, I'm gonna you know that stock phrase that's always in the front of every book. This is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to the person's living or dead is purely coincidental. That being said, right, and I have been in Regina's shoes. The very first time I struck out on my own as a freelancer, many moons ago. No plan, just vibes. I can do this. And yeah, and when it's like, okay, I can do this, and the rent's gonna be late this month. Yeah, and then after you're like, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Can I get my old job? So, those parts of Regina, and tuck and tail, and I never tucked tailed and ran, but I did jump back and like, okay, I need a quote unquote real job because this isn't happening. So I would do that, which for me was on some level a type of failure because I was
Mm.
like, I can't, having to run back to corporate, with the biweekly paycheck, regular paycheck, and all that. But I did work for someone who made it a point of hiring all these experts to help them, but never listened. And I was one of those people. It's kind of, I was one of the people they hired, and we kept giving the advice that you're paying us to give, and they kept shooting it down because they knew better than everyone. Kind of like, but then why did you hire us? So I've seen that happen, and I'm a virtual assistant, and I see sometimes in potential clients, I see that they say they want help, but they so
Yeah. It's setting up those structures to be able to ask for, receive, and process the help. Right. I think that is
yeah,
something that I'm still learning as an entrepreneur.
yes,
It's a hard
yes,
lesson.
yeah.
And yes, and understand it is a work of fiction. So um so Alan, moving over to your story. I love like that the section where we talk about the birth of rogue AI, and how you tie in like very common and popular to like the start of humanity from Orisha mythology. Um, what was the research? And you've kind of mentioned this already, but like, what was the research and what was the knowledge base that you're pulling into in that section of your short story?
I think it was more like the trickster, the role of the trickster, in mythology and how that shows up. Has shown up in, creation myths, but it's something that I've never really thought about, before. And but the more I think about it, the more interesting I think it is. I think there's a story about the Atlantic slave trade and the Orishas were supposed to be, were going to the beach, to protect people from being, taken into slavery. And they asked, Eshu for directions, and he gave them the wrong directions, so they couldn't save people. And by doing that, he created the, African diaspora and all this culture, and spread, West African, tradition throughout the world. So this trickster energy and how that shows up has been interesting. And then, when I kind of paired that with AI, it seemed like a really appropriate thing to tell the story of AI in the context of that trickster energy. Because it is, it is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's like too attractive for people to not use. But on the other hand, it assures, ecological, destruction, and maybe even societal collapse, because all these ideas that we have about things, it all changes in the context of AI. So it's kind of like a poison pill, and we're at a point where we don't really know like what we're going to do with that. Will we be able to restrict ourselves? Will we be able to kind of limit the harm, that it causes, or, will we just kind of move towards catastrophe? That's kind of one of the questions that AI kind of plot line is talking about. So yeah, I think the trickster energy is more what I was focusing on.
That makes sense. Who shows up? The trickster and Eshu, which you spell with an X in your short story, shows up in a lot of my favorite texts. Just like a very great way to cause tension in the story, because Eshu is really about causing chaos and confusion, as you said. Heard. If you're just joining us, we're discussing Afrofuturism short stories with Alan Caesar and Tiffany M. Davis. I will drop the link in the chat. If for some reason you out here in these digital streets and you don't follow us, you can click this white arrow. You can follow Sistah Sci-Fi, Alan Caesar, and Tiffany M. Davis. So yeah, and thank you for being here. There's definitely space for you to drop your questions and or comments in the chat. We'll end with, if you've watched the Sistah Sci-Fi Rundown Wednesday before, you know this. We'll end with the this or that, and please drop your comments for the this or that questions in the chat. Okay. So the anthology is a collection of short stories. It's definitely more recently that I've begun to appreciate like the value and the richness of short stories. How is it different, like writing in the short fiction format versus, like Tiffany said that you're a novelist, versus writing a full-length novel?
Part of why I struggled writing stories is because with a novel, you to build worlds and to develop your character. And with a short story, you don't have that. You need to get right into the story. You need to get right into the character. You need to get right into the plot. And also, I also struggled. You need to pick a point of view, like who's talking, who's, and I would start out and, I would give feedback like, well, if it's about this person, why is this person talking? Because it was just natural to me. But writing a short story is like what the hellscape, formerly known as Twitter, used to be when you were able to only have 140 characters, because it took a certain amount of skill to express yourself fully with only 140 characters. And now people can write dissertations. I'm not on there anymore, but write dissertation. So yeah, so it's a challenge, but it's also, when you nail it, it's great.
Yeah, I think I've mostly done short stories, I guess, in my free writing, because I haven't had the time or bandwidth to invest in a larger a novel. But I definitely, I think the world of Kemi, like I have the a lot of the stuff thought through, um, different plot lines and antagonists and the ending. So I have, on one hand, I'm like, do I want to keep this short story framework and tell the entire, story like that? I think that would be very challenging to do. It might even be a little confusing. But there's a book that came out, Harmonia Rosales.
Yes, I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, please show. I mean, if you have it nearby, please show
Yeah.
because mine is literally on the other side of the room. I can't reach it.
Yeah, it's amazing book.
Can you
It's like,
show? Can you show us some of the spreads?
yeah, it's kind of like biblical. So she's a visual artist, and she takes these. The style is of Renaissance artists. So the stuff you might have seen from the Renaissance. A lot of those are telling stories of from Christianity, and there's a lot of symbolism in there. So she does the same thing, but she talks about Yoruba culture and the Orishas and Pataki. So the pictures are telling the story of the Pataki, and all the symbolism is there, which is incredible. And But in this book, she actually wrote, she included the Pataki. So it's like the story of life, of existence, from creation to the creation of humans, and then and so on, and how everything is in relationship with one another. And it's a collection of short stories, Pataki. So when I saw that, I felt a little validated.
No, thank you for that reference. Because were you at Harmonia's event at SMOAD? Is that where you got your copy of the book? Okay,
Not wondered I
so
could. Yeah.
yeah, so like somebody told me about the event, and I was like, oh, I'm sure everybody's here because they learned about the Reese's and Church of the Black. That was my hubris, right? And so yeah, it was just like I got the book because of the artwork and just the context of it. But like I still need to sit and read it. So like that's additional insight for me. So thank you for that. I'm really excited to dive deep into it.
Yeah. The writing is, I mean, it's one thing to be an incredible visual artist, but to be an incredible, writer, um, it's just, I think she needs to save some for the rest of us.
And her conversation was amazing. Hopefully Mo had recorded it because it was a well attended conversation, a very insightful conversation. Um, yeah, I'm glad I was able to attend that. It was. I mean, Liquid did a lot of great programming last year, but that was definitely one of my favorites that I was able to attend last year. I just want to say hi to Yise. Yise is in. I don't know if they're still listening, but hi. They will also be on that Saturday on a panel. Um, this is a time that, if it feels comfortable, I would love to invite each of you to read an excerpt from your short story. We're doing pretty good on time, so read as much we can't read for 30 minutes. Not that you'd want to read for 30 minutes, but you can read up to a length that feels comfortable for you. Oh, Deb Wellness, I'm sorry that your internet keeps bouncing you out, but we will have a recording and we'll post this on our YouTube channel so you'll be able to watch it from start to finish.
You want to go first, Tiffany?
No.
I'll go first then.
Okay.
So yeah, this is from the Pataki of Kemi 2035. So this is 10 years from now, and I'll read part of.
And if you're reading from the book 2025, you said?
Yeah,
2035.
119.
Yeah. So if you have a copy of the book, 119, top of the page. Okay. Thank you, Alan.
Okay. So actually mid page. I won't read the whole thing.
Mid page. Okay.
Eyes aching, she scrolled through the latest satellite data. A massive new data center had gone online in the Amazon basin, branded as eco-neutral. But Kemi recognized the heat signatures, siphoning rivers dry, draining soil, disrupting rain cycles. The delicate balance of the rainforest, already broken, was being pulverized. Projected impact, 20 million creatures displaced, entire ecosystems erased. Kemi clicked on a video feed. It was of a Brazilian village she remembered from earlier research. The riverbed lay cracked and lifeless. The children were gone. A woman stood there, cradling a clay pot of water too small for her family. Her eyes were hollow with resignation. Kimmy's breath caught in her throat. Her hands gripped the desk. You knew, a voice whispered. You warned them. You watched it happen, and you did nothing. She realized that what she had been feeling was not sadness, depression. It was rage. Deep, elemental, not theoretical, not abstract. Immediate, visceral. People were dying. The machines were complicit, and so was she. Ogun stirred within her. Her grandmother's voice echoed from memory. Ogun is not destruction. He clears the path, cuts away what suffocates life. But iron does not act alone. It waits for a hand brave enough to wield it. Kemi stood up, heart pounding in her chest. The chair clattered to the floor behind her. The data, the research, the polite advocacy, she saw it now for its impotence. That night, she left her apartment and never returned. A resistance group found her in the highlands, where forests swallowed old roads and satellites rarely gazed. They didn't ask for credentials. They didn't want proof of her convictions. One elder simply handed her a hammer and gestured towards a relay node controlling a fleet of water siphoning drones. You sure you're ready? He asked. The metal felt cold in her hands. She swung. The strike shuddered through her body. Metal cracked. Sparks scattered into the night air like startled fireflies. With each swing, the weight on her chest lifted. The fear evaporated. Ogun had found his daughter.
Thank you for that. That passage in the first one, I'm reading it. I remember feeling the same thing. It's very empowering in its catharsis and its movement to action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Kemi 2035 is very much a direct action person. You know, that's her role in the story, to tell that kind of angle.
Yeah, and I see that. And then I see, yeah. Anyway, if you want to know more about Kemi, you gotta get the book, and then let us know what you think. You can DM us or email us at Sistah Sci-Fi, or you can just post on your socials and tag us. Okay, Tiffany.
Okay, my story starts on 122, but I'm reading an excerpt that starts on 124. If you look, is it between Regina and Nikki? Okay. You can do this, Regina told herself as she entered Nikki's Rockin' Rocket the following Wednesday. Unlike Saturday, the pace in the middle of the week was much more sedate. The lobby was only half full, and the staff had more breathing room between clients. Regina took a deep breath and approached the reception desk. The name Dell was embroidered on the smock above a trio of purple, guitar-shaped rockets that matched the salon's signature colors of purple and peach. She wore an earpiece and juggled between answering calls, making appointments, and checking clients in and out. Welcome to Nikki's Rockin' Rocket. How may I help you? I'm Regina Greenford, and I'd like to speak with Nikki if she is available. Do you have an appointment? No, I just need a few minutes of her time. Are you selling something? Not really. Mm-hmm. Dell looked Regina up and down as she tapped the headset with a rhinestone-studded red nail and turned her body away from Regina and murmured into it. She turned back with a surprised look on her face. Nikki is finishing with a client and will see you for 5 minutes. Have a seat and she'll be with you shortly. Thank you. Regina sat in an empty purple chair in the lobby and picked up the latest issue of Home Vibes e-zine. She watched the staging of her living room in this year's colors, mint green and eggshell white, where her name was called. Regina? Nikki looked around the lobby. Right here. Regina rose and followed Nikki back through the salon to the facial area, which was temporarily empty. I have a client coming in 10 minutes and a facial is scheduled soon, so talk fast. Nikki removed a pack of chewing gum from her purple sock embroidered with guitar-shaped rockets and offered it to Regina, who shook her head. I saw you on Saturday. You got a manicure from Pinky. Yep, that was me. She showed off her nails to Nikki. Pinky did an excellent job. She usually does. Now, what did you want to talk to me about? Regina took a deep breath. I would like to offer my services as a Reiki practitioner through your salon. Excuse me? Reiki, the movement of energy fields. I know what Reiki is. What I'm confused about is why you want to offer it here. Wouldn't it be better suited for a yoga studio or something? Regina took another deep breath. Well, a salon is actually a very good place for it. Clients come here not just to look good, but also to feel good and relax. Facials are good, but Reiki would lend a whole body relaxation and healing experience. Clients would pay for that. I see. Nikki's tone indicated otherwise. And I assume that you would be the one to do the Reiki? I would. I am a certified Reiki master in Komyo Reiki Do Chuden. Okay. Nikki's expression was still doubtful. But this is neither a metaphysical place nor a health center. This is a salon. Nikki waved an arm to encompass the salon. We do hair, nails, and faces, period. And I don't know where you would do it. Space is at a premium since we added the aesthetician last year. Regina braced herself. It was time for the hard sell. Well, your business is booming, to my unpracticed eye. Not that I'm watching your pockets, she said hastily as Nikki raised a perfectly arched eyebrow. But from what I observed during my visit, and offering Reiki as an additional service will pay for itself. And you noticed all that from one visit? I'm pretty observant. Nikki was silent for a moment. Then she checked her watch and rose. I have to go. Thank you for stopping by, Regina. Unfortunately, I don't think that this will be a good match. Maybe try Space Coaster Salon over on the side of town. They may be more receptive. Regina hid her disappointment as she rose as well. Thank you for hearing me out. Take care. You too. I hope to see you again as a client. You will. Regina pasted on a bright smile and left the salon. The minute she was on the Plascrete sidewalk, her smile dropped and her shoulders drooped. She trudged to the nearest rail station for a summer ride home.
Mm. That's a big crux of the story. Why did you choose that as the excerpt?
I wanted to show the interaction between Nikki and Regina, kind of setting up that Nikki was where Regina wanted to be, business-wise, and what it's like when you try and pitch your service and to be turned down. You know, you might think it's a good idea and someone else not so much. And so it's about how to sell yourself to convince someone that they need services. Been there, done that, got the soundtrack and the t-shirt. So, yes.
Yeah. So based on the excerpt, you might be worried about like what happens to Regina in the future. I just want to say, like when I read the story, Tiffany, I felt hopeful and optimistic. And if you want to know why, you'll have to read the story.
Yes.
So that wellness for you says mind blown exclamation point. So thank you both for reading your excerpts. As we wrap up the hour, we'll do my second favorite part of every Sistah Sci-Fi Wind Down Wednesday. If you're wondering what my first favorite part is, it's everything we've been doing thus far, discussing your work, sharing your genius with the world, interacting with readers, and all that good stuff. Sharon, I'm probably mispronouncing your name, and I really apologize for that. Loved both excerpts. Thank you! Exclamation point. We're going to do this or that. We have our first question was actually submitted by Tracy Green, who's also an author and who has been on Sistah Sci-Fi Wind Down Wednesday. So if you know all about the Sistah Sci-Fi, this or that section. So the first one is from her. Tracy, thank you for submitting one. I also want to say hi to Breeze Bookish. Thank you. Thank you for dropping in. Okay, so the first this or that. Dystopian world building or utopian world building? Which do you prefer to both read and or write? Oh, I forgot a question.
Utopian. Although I do love a good dystopian, depending on how it's done. I usually write utopian.
Yeah, I would probably say, can I say dystopian within utopian?
Oh,
Okay.
that's okay. I like that. I like that. Okay, I'm here for it. Dystopian within utopian, which is very N.K. Jemisin's The Ones Who Stay and Fight. Okay, I'm here for that. So the next question, okay. So some of these questions, you're going to have a response. And I give this key caveat to help mitigate that response. It hasn't really worked yet, but I'm still experimenting. Just to let you know, nothing happens to either options regardless of what you choose. Like everything stays the same in the universe, right? There's nobody's going to come get your black card or your purple card or your sci-fi card. Like everything is fine. And the options are also fine. Like nothing goes poof in the universe.
So I have a
That
sci-fi
means,
card now.
uh,
I have a
yeah,
sci-fi card now.
it's official. You're on the show. You have a sci-fi card. It is coming in digital post through the elves and the fairies. It's being produced by the tech mages, which means it may not ever show up. But yes,
It'll show up
and
in my dreams. No sleep.
yeah. And also before I go on to the next question, I want to read some of the responses. Breeze Booker says, dystopian world building is always incredibly thought-provoking. Tracy says, yeah, you have to have mess, but it can be in a utopian world. So going back to dystopias and utopia. Okay, so for the second this or that, Skinfolk, a short story collection by Nala Hopkinson, or Unexpected Stories, a short story collection by Octavia Butler.
Yes.
Sorry, I was reading the comment. What was the first option?
Yes. Skinfolk, a short story collection by Nalo Hopkinson, or Unexpected Stories, a short story collection by Octavia Butler.
Why do we have to choose?
Love it. Okay. It is a bit of that, but obviously consent is actually, so I can't make you choose. So I heard the yes and I heard why do we have to choose? And those are both very valid responses. The next one is museum or library?
Library. I'm a classic nerd. Grew up on the WDW. Has to be in the library.
I'll probably say museum, depending on the museum, but I like a good museum.
It's books, man. You can never be around, like being around the books. You know, plus I used to sneak off with my former high school boyfriend. We were like meet at the library, and his mom once said, "I knew he wasn't going to the library." Library was a place in my heart.
That's what I learned in the Positive Obsession, Octavia Butler biography, that she dated a guy that she met at the library. I mean, I think they only went on 1 or 2 dates, but I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I think I'm a fan of Oakland has a museum library. It's not like a very extensive museum or library, but I do like the idea of having both in one place. So yeah, that'll be my response. What is winning in the chat? Tracy says museum. Yeah, and Dab gave I think for the short story, I just laughed and spit out my drink. So yeah, some of the choices will be hard. And I get it, and that's fine. And sometimes you don't have to choose. You don't want to choose. So the next question is, I watch a lot of television, so know that. So it is an option between T2P shows, and if you haven't watched them, that's okay. So the first one is Damascus, which is a Black speculative fiction show, which is streaming on Tubi. If you haven't, I want everybody in the world to watch this show. Tubi is 100% free. I'm not getting paid to recommend the show. I just feel like we should all watch it and bring it back. So Damascus or Time Wasters. Time Wasters is about a bunch of friends who end up finding a time machine in these Black British projects and getting sent back into time. And each season, they're sent back to a different time period.
Mm.
So it's either to that Damascus or Time Wasters, and you could be like, I haven't watched either, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never seen either one. I was like, yeah, never seen those.
Yeah.
But Masters sounds interesting. So I just looked it up. So add that to my to be queue.
I'll say, yeah, both of them sound interesting. I haven't seen either one, but Time Waster sounds, I might pick that. It made me think about that show from like the 80s or 90s with that guy who was like lost in time and he had this companion, this AI guy.
Yes, Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I grew up on the OG with Scott Bakula.
Yes. Damascus streams on Tubi. Time Waster streams on Prime Video, like Amazon's Prime Video. I'll just do one more pitch for Damascus to you, Alan. The main character is getting psychotherapy with the psychologist and their interactions. So you might find that interesting as a psychologist. And the therapist is played by the original Aunt Viv from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, really?
Oh,
dang! Yeah, I'm seeing that. The original.
Yeah, I know I'm selling this show kind of hard. I know because I just want us to like get together and like. There's 6 episodes. They're just 6 episodes. They didn't get a second season. So I'm just like, if I tell the right person, they don't magically come back. I'm just trying to figure out who that right person is. So looking at the chat, Deb says Time Wasters definitely haven't seen either. So, okay, Time Wasters is very funny. And yes, and we're getting a lot of love for the original Quantum Leap. Okay, just 2 more questions. Actually, we're going to skip the 5th, number 5. We're going to skip to Octavia, the last this or that, and then we're going to end with what are you reading, watching, or listening to right now. So the last this or that is Octavia Butler or Toni Morrison.
Yeah.
That was easy. Wow. That was like, usually I get so much like, wow, that was terrific. Okay. So great. Yes, Deb, Time Wasters is on Prime. So yeah, and Octavia wins by a sweep because that's also the choice that I'm seeing in the chat. So we'll close with, what are you reading, watching, or listening to right now that you want to recommend to the Sistah Sci-Fi community?
I'm currently rereading. It's a horror film, not horror film, a horror book. I know it's not, but it's called Within the Shadows by Brandon Massey, and he sells all of his books. I met him at Book Expo many moons ago when it was still a center, when they were still doing it in a pre-COVID world. But all of his books are on Kindle, and that's one of my of his. He also wrote a book called Dark Corner, which was Black vampires. It was like Dark Corner walk so that run. Let's put it like that, because it's also those are my 2 favorites by him. So if you're into horror, and there are speculative elements, because he gets in, there's magic, there's supernatural stuff. It's Black. So I love it. So that's what I would recommend right now. I'm not a podcaster person. So, yeah.
Thank you. I dropped a link in the chat. And Tracy, no problem about the tuber question. That's my pleasure. Okay, Alan, what about you? What are you reading, watching, or listening to right now?
I'm reading Children of Uri, Chronicles of Uri, Armani Rosales. And other things. Spirits Come from Water, Imeora. But watching, the thing that came to mind was the movie Good Boy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's a horror movie told from the perspective of a dog. So the dog is like...
I saw that, but I didn't realize it was a horror movie.
Yeah, it's the dog is basically watching his owner become possessed over time and is like trying to help it and figure out like, what to do. So yeah, super appreciated that movie. And I've just been listening to a lot of Brazilian soul music, and kind of been obsessed with it lately.
Oh, I'm here for it. If it's I know we were all supposed to have canceled our Spotify. I will get there. But until I do, if you want to share that playlist, that would be exciting for me.
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh,
It is. Oh, yes.
sorry, just one more thing. I just want to. So we're doing a reading of the book, and a friend of mine, Copy Left. I'll put his ad in the chat on the 30th of this month at Cleo's in Oakland. We're doing a book reading and a script reading, and there'll be this event. So if people are interested, they can check out the Copy Left for details.
Oh, is that in events on the Black Wellness website?
It's you can check the Copy Left's profile. I just put it in the chat, and then I'll cross post on Black Wellness as we get closer.
Okay, let me. I have time to be Copy Left to drop the link for the Copy Left.
Amazing.
Let me. Okay, it's not okay. So I'm also dropping. Oh yeah, and there's the Copy Left just joined. Oh, is it Stories of Scribes and Scream?
Yes.
Okay, I'll also drop the direct post to that. And yeah, and so if you're in the Bay Area, and I have not been to Cleo's, so I would definitely try to make it out depending on the day of the week. And it's on the last day of January, so January 31st at Cleo's near Lake Merritt, so you can go to the lake and then check out Cleo's. I don't know what day of the week the 31st is. Okay, so that's everything. So again, Afrofuturism short stories. If you love the excerpt, you can get the book. Click this right arrow to follow us. And then lots of cool events happening this Saturday. You have Copy Left on the 31st. And a whole bunch of cool stuff. And then join the Sistah Sci-Fi email list or look at our events page to see the next Sistah Sci-Fi Wind on Wednesday. Alan and Tiffany, this was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for submitting your stories for Afrofuturism short stories. It is a beautiful book. And I loved your stories. I enjoyed them both so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
This was fun.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
And sorry, the event is on the 30th, not the 31st. Really? Because it says, okay. Anyway, the event is on the 30th, not the 31st. Okay. Bye, everyone.
All right. Take care. Thank you. Bye, Tiffany.
Bye, Alan. Bye, Isis.
Bye.
Thank y'all for coming. Whoever was watching, all